Hi everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, my name is Buki Akimade. I'm a home cook, and on this channel I share food recipes, kitchen tips, kitchen hacks, and just things that generally make life easier for you in the kitchen. Today I'm going to be making fried fish stew. In Nigeria, it's a very popular stew that we make. We eat it with rice, we eat it with swallows, we eat it with beans, we eat it with all kinds of things. And it involves frying fish. I'm using croaker fish. So I'm going to fry the fish. I'm going to cook it in a tomato sauce. And that is my stew that we can use to eat our rice and all the other things. It's a lovely and delicious Nigerian stew that we enjoy with almost everything. You can even eat the fish on its own because the tomato sauce, it's really flavorful and it's just something that you're going to like. It only takes a few ingredients. Fish stew doesn't need too much. Only a few ingredients and you get the perfect Nigerian fried stew. Let me show you my ingredients. For this recipe, I'm using croaker fish. It's one of my favorites. Tilapia will work. Any other fish that you like will work, but I'm using croaker fish for this one because it's firm and it just stays really intact in your stew. I'm also using a blend of peppers. I've got here paprika peppers, which is Tatase, some habanero, fresh pepper, onions, and some tomatoes that I'm going to blend together. For seasoning of my stew, I'm only using this chicken seasoning and curry powder with some salt. However, I'm going to marinate my fish with some onion powder, garlic powder, white pepper, paprika, and salt. I'm going to start first by creating my marinade for the fish. So I'm going to mix up my onion powder with some white pepper, some garlic powder. You can add as much or as little as you want. I really like onion powder. I'm just going to add a bit more. And then I'll add my paprika. And a little salt. Actually, I'm going to add some chicken seasoning also. If you have fish seasoning, you can use that for marinating your fish. But I like my chicken seasoning. I like the flavor, so I'm going to use that here. I'm just going to mix all of this together. And then I'm going to transfer my fish in here. Then I'll just marinate the fish now. The reason I'm doing this is because I want my fish to have a really good taste. You know, inside that stew, when I use my fork and pick a piece of fish, I want that fish to taste really good. You have to massage the marinade into the fish pieces and just make sure that they're properly covered. Make sure you're pressing the marinade into all the fish corners and the gills and everything so that it penetrates the fish, so that your fish tastes really, really good after it's fried. So I'm just going to marinate all of these fish pieces now. I'll cover this now with some cling film and just leave it on my counter for an hour. I don't want to put it back in the fridge because I want it to come to room temperature. The fish was already in the fridge when I brought it out, so I'm going to marinate it and leave it sitting on my counter for 1 hour so it comes to room temperature before I fry it. And that's really important. I know some people have difficulty in frying fish. They say that their fish scatters and all of that. One of the things you have to make sure is that your fish is at room temperature before you fry it, so that it's not cold and then jumping into hot oil. You want to make sure that the temperature is right when it goes into the oil. That way it gets time to cook and the skin starts to crisp and it doesn't scatter when you try to flip it over. I'll show you as we go along, but I'm going to let this marinate for an hour now on my counter so that it comes to room temperature. While my fish is marinating, I'm going to boil my peppers. I like to boil my peppers before I blend them. I find that it has a really nice taste. And of course, then my tomato is already halfway cooked. So I really like doing this. Try it if you don't already do it. You're going to love it. So I'm just going to add this to the pot. I typically do not add water to it, but I'm going to add just a little bit Now, usually my tomatoes produce the water that I need for this, so I don't usually need to add water. You can add a very tiny amount of water or not at all, and your tomatoes will produce the juice that you need to steam this. So I'm basically just steaming this. I'm going to steam it for 15 minutes, about 10 to 15 minutes, then I'll let it cool before I blend it. Fish has been marinating for just over an hour now, so it's time to fry. I've been heating up my oil, so I'm just going to put the fish directly in the oil. Make sure not to crowd the pan with the fish. Leave enough room so that when you want to flip it over, you have enough room to pick one and flip it. And this is where your patience is going to be tested. Leave the fish alone. Don't touch the fish. Once you have put it in the oil, leave it alone. Don't be tempted to touch it. Just make sure that your heat is between medium to medium high so that it gently cooks, and then when it starts to fry, the skin gently crisps on the outside. Leave the fish alone. Don't be tempted to touch it at all, I beg you, so that you don't end up with scattered fish. Your fish is just going to scatter in the pan if you start to touch it, you start to check it. Trust it and time it. It's going to take about 8 to 10 minutes. Thereabout, but you will know, you will see it, you will start to see when the skin is crisping and browning, and until that side is fully fried, you can't turn it, otherwise your fish is going to scatter. So trust the process and just watch it closely. It's been exactly 10 minutes now, but you can see that I've just flipped my fish and it's not scattering. You just really need that patience, you guys. So I'm going to turn it over now, and then I'll leave it for another 3 or 4 minutes. Ooh, for another 3 or 4 minutes. This is one of the downsides of frying fish, all of this splattering, but it's because of the water in the fish that I clearly could not do anything about. Fish is perfectly fried. This is what you need. Making fried fish stew is pretty easy. It's time to make the stew now. The difficult part is frying that fish, and all of that is done. So in this pot, I'm going to put some oil and I'll wait for it to get hot. If you don't mind seeing onion pieces in your stew, you can add some chopped onions when the oil is hot, but I'm going to skip that because I don't really want the chopped onions, but it gives it flavor, so if you like it, you can add that. Do you see the color of my pepper mix? This color is to die for. This is what you get when you boil your peppers first. And like I said, fish stew doesn't need too much. I'm just going to add some seasoning powder, a little curry powder, and some salt. And that is all. I'm going to cover it now and let it cook for about 10 to 12 minutes. And then I'll add in the fish. We already know that when the oil comes to the top, the stew is halfway done. So I'm going to put my fried fish in now. I'll let it cook uncovered now for another 5 minutes or so, and my fish stew is ready. And this is how you make fried fish stew. This stew is perfect for white rice. If you're like me and you eat okra and stew, this is the perfect stew for that. It goes well with eba or amala, oh my God. If you eat stew with yam, this can go with yam. This can go with spaghetti, it can go with pasta, it can go with almost anything. It's the perfect stew for everything, basically. Nigerian fried fish stew is one of my favorite stews. In fact, I think it's my #1 stew. I love this stew so much, and I hope that you do too. I hope that you try out this recipe. You can replace the fish with something else like tilapia, sole, whatever fish you like, and it will work. If you don't want to fry your fish, that's fine. You can season it, leave it for a while, and then make your stew. It will still work perfectly. Let me know what your thoughts and your comments are in the comment section. Follow me on Instagram if you're not already following me on there. It's the Kitchen Muse, and subscribe to my channel, please, you guys. Subscribe. It's absolutely free. Please subscribe to my channel before you leave, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.